Hello and welcome to this, the very first episode of Morris LC3 Rescue. You might be able to hear outside, it's actually raining cats and dogs today. It's wetter than a Scottish summer, so a great day to be in the shed mucking around with LC3s. Bingo, look at that. Well, that didn't quite go to plan. You can just never have too many spare parts. Hopefully we'll be able to drag this thing out from its would-be grave. The workshop foreman has just arrived for her usual inspection. My mate Gordo told me he who dies with the most toys wins, but the problem is I can't remember where half the toys are these days. I've always been a chick magnet. Oh, well, that was a bit of a workout for an old fella. I need to get these parts off before Fred the Ram finds out I'm in his paddock, or it'll be on like Donkey Kong. There are hands up the wheel. I really messed up.
It's a little baby that needs our help.
I can actually feel my heart beating a little bit faster. Those daffodils are coming out, that means spring is just around the corner. Kids, this is why you don't leave your Tonka toys out in the rain. The channel doesn't aim to set the YouTube world on fire. I'd really just like to present some of the skills and some of the components that make up doing a restoration and getting one of these old trucks back on the road. It's easy enough to break it down into different sections: gearbox, motor, brakes, chassis, and there's a lot of components within those that we can probably explore a bit and flesh out. We've also got some rescues to do. I've got a couple of recoveries slated for later episodes. And also too, reviving some engines. Not much good without an engine that works. One of the guys on YouTube, Dylan McCool, has an idea of making roadstorations rather than restorations. And that's an idea that really resonates with me. We haven't all got deep, endless pockets of money or checkbook restorers. And if that's your thing, that's great. But as a lot of you would understand, the enjoyment that comes of actually physically laying your hands on all the components of a vehicle and pulling everything apart and getting stuff working again that hasn't maybe worked for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, who knows. It's really enjoyable and you get a lot of fun out of it. One of the big problems that you find now too is we seem to be losing a lot of these skills. It's really important for us older guys to try and pass some of this information on to younger guys. If we want these vehicles to survive and to keep going long after we're not here, then there has to be people around that can fix them and maintain them and look after them and enjoy them above all, because hey, that's why we do it, right? We like to enjoy the vehicles. Anyway, that's enough gaff from me. Welcome aboard, and I hope you enjoy what we're going to present here. Cheers. I just wanted to mention, probably if you are an enthusiast and you haven't already joined, there's two great groups on Facebook, the Morris Commercial Owners and Enthusiasts group, and there's also the Austin group. I think it's Austin Restorers group or Restoration group. I'll post some links down below in the comments, but if you haven't already joined, it's really worthwhile. The group's supported, it's friendly. A lot of people on there posting some great photos of restorations that are currently underway and completed restorations. So even if you're just looking for some ideas on things like paint scheme, for instance, or looking for details, I think it's a fantastic resource, both the groups, and as I say, very friendly. Information is shared openly, And there's no silly questions, you know. At one stage or another, we were all in the same boat, and you know, we had questions that we thought, gee, I don't know if I can ask that. But hey, there's a lot of experienced guys in these groups that have worked on more than one truck and are very, very open and happy to share that information with anybody who might have questions. The other valuable resource on there that's worth mentioning is Brad Dunn from Vintage Truck Supplies has, on the Morris commercial page, has uploaded workshop manuals for a lot of the Morris trucks and vehicles. So if you're looking for a free PDF download to kick off your restoration, then it's a really good place to start. So I'd encourage you to join up and come join the fun. Well, it's obviously really early days on the Morris LC3 Rescue YouTube channel, so it might take me a couple of weeks just to get a bit of feedback from you guys and work out exactly what content you would like to see on the channel. At this stage, probably the post that I've done on Facebook on the Morris Commercial Vehicles Owners and Enthusiasts page, bit of a mouthful, is the one that I did about repairing handbrake linkages. I was amazed. I think I'm up to just over 60 personal messages on my Messenger account for that one. So, you know, that sort of says to me, yeah, well, there must be a lot of people out there that are in the same boat as myself. A lot of the trucks that I get, you know, have really had hard lives. They haven't been particularly well looked after. And in a lot of cases that the handbrake linkages are just completely flogged out. And, you know, obviously, you know, yeah, we could just throw new pins in there, but it's not going to fix all that wear and tear. So the only real way to solve this that I've found, and obviously we can't go out and buy new linkages, you might be crafty enough to make new linkages, But what I've been doing is repairing the old linkages, and by that I mean I basically drill the center of the linkage out and find the center of the linkage again, because a lot of the holes in them are quite egg-shaped or elongated. So yeah, we refine the center of that linkage, and then basically turn up a new bushing on the lathe. And then we use brazing to actually put that new bushing into the little linkage assembly, and hey presto, we get a perfect fit every time. So I'm going to share a little bit more of how that process happens with you. Obviously, as I say, there's been a little bit of interest in that. I have to add the caveat that I'm not a professional boilermaker or fabricator. So a lot of what I do is just stuff that I've learned along the way, and certainly my grandfather, who was a blacksmith, was a big influence in that, and also to a couple of very good friends who are boilermakers. So I get a little bit of information from them, which is great. Anyway, let's set to, and I'll take you through the process. So this is a pretty good example of what you're likely to come across. In actual fact, this is probably nowhere near as bad as I have seen, but this is part of the adjustment linkage, which I'm basically rebuilding and repairing. And you can see in this particular case, there is a good deal of movement in that whole assembly. Now, a little bit of that is due to the clevis pin being worn, but the majority of it is actually just purely from the fact that linkage is really badly flogged out. So I don't know if you can see with the camera, but it's actually quite egg-shaped. And here's another one which I'm about to repair, and it's quite obvious on that one that yeah, she's had a pretty rough life. And if we put a new clevis pin in there, it's sort of, yeah, look, there's no physical way that you can see the amount of wear in that and how badly flogged out it is. So there's no chance that we could ever put that back into a system and be able to properly adjust our handbrake. So what I basically do is I set all these up in the drill press, and then basically drill everything back to center. And I'll take you through that process and show you exactly what I do. Now, one of the handiest tools I've got here for actually fixing these linkages, and I'm lucky enough to have it, is a little 2-axis cross-slide drill vise. So that allows me basically to get this centered as close as possible to what it would have been originally. Now, if you're not lucky enough to have one of those, well, then just a normal drill vise will probably do the job. You're just going to have to play around with it a little bit more to try and get it centered by adjusting the nuts on the base of the vise. Now, in terms of repairing these, what I start with doing is basically drilling out, or if you like, drilling past where the wear is in the actual clevis pin holes. Basically, by doing that, you eliminate and get that hole centered and back to round. Usually I find with these, I take them out anywhere from 11 to 13 mil. And what I do, there's a bit of a trick here. I find the drill bit, given the wear, that fits the tightest in the hole, which in this particular case is a 10 mil drill bit. So there's quite a bit of significant wear there in this piece. What I do is I sit that piece on the drill bit, lower him down into the vise, and then from there basically just start clamping up and making slight adjustments to get that perfectly centered. Obviously you only have to do this on one axis when you're using this method. And what we're looking for is, once we've got that clamp in there, we want to be able to pass that nicely through that hole. And basically what that means is we've now got that well centered. So when we drill our hole straight through the piece, the holes are actually going to, on both sides of that connector, are going to be in line and in alignment. That'll make it a lot easier when we come to put the bushes in, and of course getting the pin to to sit correctly in position. So what I've done now is I've swapped out to a 12mm drill bit, and I'm just going to give this a little squirt of our XXX cutting fluid, and here we go at a nice low speed. Just let the drill do the work, don't put any real pressure on the piece. It's a nice sharp drill bit, it should cut through. Here's our first hole. Tighten that up a little bit. A little bit more cutting fluid. Again, just let the drill do the work. And there we go. That's our first hole done. So what we've ended up with is, hopefully we've got this thing pretty well squared up again and back to zero. So now we're ready to move on to the stage where we make a couple of bushes, or 3 bushes in this case, to actually go in here, and yeah, we'll keep going. So the final piece of the puzzle here is really just passing an 8mm drill bit back through these holes once you've finished brazing and it's cooled down, of course. And then I'll just give these surfaces a bit of a clean up, make sure that everything still fits together, and that's a little bit of work with a file. And yeah, basically you're good to go, and you'll find they will fit like a glove, and everything will be nice and tight and back in spec again, which is what you want. So very simple fix really, but makes a huge difference in terms of the efficiency and the operation of the handbrake assemblies. All of my handbrake linkages were pretty much flogged out worse than an old drover's dog, so it's pretty important when you're basically doing the restoration for the rival to this level that you actually, it's worth going the extra distance and fitting those bushes and basically making sure that everything is tight, because every little millimetre counts really in this handbrake system just by the way that it works. So any excess wear is certainly going to give you grief in terms of trying to get the most out of your handbrake operation and just get it adjusted and working properly. Well, I hope we didn't bore you too badly with our first episode. There might be some takeaways there that some of you can use on your restoration journey with your handbrakes. By all means, we'd love it if you would join the channel next week. We're off to the northern Midlands of Tasmania. We've had a tip-off with respect to an engine that's been in a shed there for the best part of 30 years, we think. And there's a possibility it could be an LC3 engine. So we're going to go and have a look at that and see if it's recoverable. It may be junk. We won't really know until we see it. But anyway, for now, that's pretty much a wrap for the first episode. If you enjoyed what you saw, please click that like button, thumbs up, and we'd really love your comments and feedback. Are we on the mark here? We think we're going to hit the mark with content, but we're always looking for constructive feedback. And if you don't want to miss any upcoming episodes, then of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel. All right then, safe travels, happy restorations, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Cheers. Brad Dunn, Vintage Truck Supplies. Now she's guaranteed to start.